Hi, welcome to Two Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Mealy.
I'm Maria Shahada.
You look scared for a second.
I look scared.
Yeah, you had a moment of like, I saw panic.
I just don't, I'm fine. What, me? Panic?
No,
I'm
I did.
good.
I saw a glimpse. I've
Yeah.
been very giddy for like a week and a half just from doing shows.
Oh, I wish shows did that for me. I have the opposite effect. Just dread and hate my life.
Even when it goes well.
Look, when it goes well, I'm back to normal.
Okay, all right. That's valid. Yeah, I can't even say like all like some shows have been really great, but like some have just been like meh. Like nothing has been awful. Like it'll be funny the first like real awful gig I do where I'm like, "Oh yeah, fuck these people." But like right now it's just everything feels like a Monday night because, it's 33% capacity. So everything
Mm.
is just kind of, some people have figured out how to like put people in so that it's both safe and doesn't feel like you're just like in an open space. But yeah, it's not as many people, but people aren't on their phones, which is kind of cool. Like I feel like people are really focusing in a way that like I was telling somebody the other day, I remember this so clearly. This was like 2 years ago. New York Comedy Club has two locations. So this is the 4th Street one, and it's like a bit bigger, and the lights are just a little brighter. And it was a mom and daughter. They were in the second row, and they were staring at their phones the whole time.
Yeah.
And the show was going great, by the way. It wasn't that it wasn't going well, but I was like so fixated. Like, why did you leave the hotel? Why are you out if you were just going to be, and you were like proud, you're like mother and daughter, they're clearly bonding the only way they know how, which is publicly on their phones. But it was like, it made me crazy. Like I was like distracted the
Yeah.
whole time. I didn't say anything because the show was going well and it wasn't important enough. But like in my head, I couldn't
So
focus. I was
Lewis
like,
Black of you. I didn't say anything because it was going well.
that's really funny. But it like so weirdly enough, I've noticed the opposite, which I was like, everybody's so like in the moment and like focused and like seems grateful. And I'm like an open micer, but with experience. Like I
I-
feel like excited, and every laugh, I was like, really? That's funny. That's crazy. But I'm like giddy.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm really happy for you. I've honestly have had the opposite experience. Like when we were between lockdowns in London, I think people were talking a lot more. It was almost like doing like a rowdy bar show because they put those partitions up, those like plastic partitions. And so people just assumed they couldn't be heard because there's no
Oh,
coherence. There's no flow. There's no like, we're with everyone. It's a
yeah,
community.
like a group think that you get when
Yeah.
you're next to somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, so people are spread out. There's plastic in between them. They think they get drunk. Nobody, and they're drinking early because of the curfew. So it's like people start drinking at 2 because they got to go home at 10, and by the time 7 o'clock hits, they're drunken. They're talking really loud to people, and it was really impossible between lockdowns to get it. Like you'll have good sets. People are happy to be there and stuff. It's not like and no one's angry. It's just they're not listening. Like they're not attentive, like you're describing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because like drinking culture is like I feel like the socializing hierarchy in the UK is very different than the socializing hierarchy in the US. Not to say that drinking isn't a part of our culture, but it's not like I feel like people get off work and they're in a bar. Like I feel like their boss hands them a pint and then they walk to a destination with it. Like I
Yeah.
just I don't know. I that is like a really good point. Like it
That is
feels
like when
like
the
the
terror attacks happened in London in London Bridge. All the
running.
bars, people were running with their beers, and also all the beers left on the tables were empty. So it was like there was a terror attack, and they're all like, "All right, well, I got to finish my pint."
Oh, you gotta love Londoners. So
Yeah.
adorable. They're just like, oh my God, I might die, but I paid for this and I shouldn't be sober while being attacked.
I'm
That's
not
not
letting some terrorist like steal the joy of this pint.
yeah.
I mean, that's the real terror.
You don't compromise, was it? You don't compromise with terrorists. You don't
You don't negotiate with them.
negotiate. That's what it compromise. I love that I talked
Right.
about it
Tell you
like it
what.
was a marriage. You don't
I-
compromise with terrorists. You stand your ground. You say, hey, I'm the man, you're the woman.
You can blow up Memphis. We'll give you Memphis. but leave New York.
I really shouldn't talk to live audiences. Yeah, I can see that. It kind of sounds like a train car where like everybody thinks like this is their little world and they can't bother anybody else.
Yeah.
And each club is kind of handling it differently. Like the Cellar has the partitions like Top Secret does, but New York Comedy Club, they're just spread out the 6 feet that they're supposed to
Oh,
be.
yeah, every
Um,
club is, yeah.
yeah, and then some of the Cellar rooms, you're in a fish tank, like you have something in front of you, and then some of them you don't. And the fish tank ones, I was like talking to some of the taller comics. I was like, "Are you blinded by the like?" I can't figure out if it's because I'm short or it's the fish tank in general, but like I literally can't see anybody. It's like wearing my
Mm,
glasses in a spotlight.
because you have the plexiglass in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't figure out if it's my angle, like where I stand as opposed to where like the taller comics stand, or if it's
Yeah.
just being in front of plexiglass and we're all wearing glasses. But
I got
I've
my eyebrows
honestly,
tinted. Huh?
oh, they look great.
I didn't, go
Mm.
in planning it, but, like, things opened up, and I first thing I did was get my eyebrows threaded.
Yeah, no, dude, that
So
was the first
important.
thing I did when things opened up. It was
And,
so important.
yeah, and so she was like, "Do you wanna tint them?" And I'd never tinted my eyebrows before, but I was like, "What kind of a human am I? I should do that." And, my eyebrows, I don't know if it was the tint or the threading, but they were so swollen when I got home, like, I was like this part of my skin was out to here. I was like, "Oh my god." And, I'd heard that tinting can fuck up, like, if you tint your eyelashes or eyebrows, like, can fuck you up, but I don't think it was the tint. I do think it was just, like, she was just being so, like, like, aggressive, particular, whatever, with her threading.
But also, we used to get it done, what, like every 4 to 6 weeks, and you haven't gotten it done in that time that like
All
it
the hairs were
technically
there.
hasn't. Yeah, exactly. Like, and your skin's not really used to it. I know this is like fake science, but like this is our podcast where we just kind of make stuff up. But yeah, I could see it like hurting more, having your skin having more of a reaction to it.
Yeah,
It looks great.
thanks.
Okay, the announcements should we do?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you to all our patrons, everybody that contributes on Patreon. We are grateful. You guys are awesome. If you don't know, we now have weekly bonuses. Where we do a Let's Get Personal. It's only $5. Then you can get stickers. We also have monthly bonuses. I just added my cat book to one of the tiers. So if you want to get a signed cat book, your options are winning a contest that I put out there or becoming a Patreon. Um, you can become a Google guest. Tons of things. So thank you to everybody that already gives to us. And then if you want to, it's patreon.com/2non-doctors, full word doctors.
Yeah, and like, we're learning a lot about each other in the Let's Get Personal because 'cause we're asking each other 36 love questions, and I've known you for, like, 15 years, and we're still like, "Oh, I didn't know that," so that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Um, Follow us on the socials. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at 2 non-doctors. That's the number 2 and the full word doctors, or Instagram at 2 non-DRS. And, if you haven't already and you feel like it being nice, and you wanna, please rate and review us. It helps us out a lot. It helps us get seen. We feel great when we read them. We love all the ones we've had so far. Thank you so much for leaving a review if you have already. And yeah, if you could take a few moments to do that, that is helpful.
Yeah, and then personal announcements. I'm touring again. I don't know when this is coming out, but I think Philly, Minneapolis, Arlington, Virginia, Brooklyn, adding some other ones as we go. So check out my website. Maria's got some stuff coming up. Check out her website. Where are you at?
Yeah. And I'm with you in Arlington
Oh
in July.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's so exciting. And then top secret mostly. A night bus is coming back May 30th if you're in London.
yay! I like
Uh,
Night Bus.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's a really supportive, fun audience, and it used to be on a bus, which was cool, but now it's out in the courtyard, which is
That makes
safe.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The bus was
Um,
small.
yeah. So you're in a fan mail?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do fan mail. So this is from Mareeck. Mareeck, that seems right. This is a response to our crying episode. As a man in my late 20s, I don't even remember the last time I actually cried. Hearing you talk about it feels a bit like it's this really useful tool that's not available to me. Even if I get even if I get really emotional, tears just don't come out. And I know a lot of men in a similar position. So it was interesting. I responded to him and I was just like, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Da, da, da. And then I told him about, I was like, oh, have you watched our, you know, our male depression episode? He's like, yeah, it was really helpful, blah, blah, blah. But this is my favorite part to his second response is he goes, fun fact, average male crying frequency in my country is 0.9, which sounds high to me. And then I was like, where are you from? And he was like, Poland.
Oh.
So it was just like, I was like, oh
Seems
yeah,
high to me.
this all makes sense. Like, Mareeck, you got to start with Poland. Like, yeah, I have emotions, but then, and then of course I responded to him. I was like, hey, I did a show in Warsaw. I did a show in Warsaw and it was great. Like audience was great, but like my observation of every like older man was that they just found out their son was gay. Like they all just had
Yeah.
this permanent grimace that was like,
Yeah.
every older man just was walking around so mad, or at least that's what their face looked like. So as soon as he
I
said
broke
Poland, I was like, I get it. I get
I
why.
broke I broke my sobriety in Warsaw. It sounds like a Johnny Cash song.
First of all, I get it. I get it. I think it is interesting from our crying episode that I think we all kind of intrinsically knew that the crying was like different countries have an acceptability. You know what I mean? Like we even made like I even just made that Russian joke where I was just like where it said like women cry 3.5 times a month and I was like, what are they, Russian? Like what is this? Like it's funny that you just kind of intrinsically know that. But I have found it very interesting that different countries and clearly different upbringings make you feel comfortable enough to cry or even have the ability to cry. But we've gotten so many messages from men saying they just don't know how to cry. Like they just can't.
Yeah, Johnny's definitely said that. I don't like I'm almost jealous of that, and I know I shouldn't be, and it's, you're blocked. But I feel like it would be nice to have some dam in my river of tears. Just something blocking some of it.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of times like I can do a glassy eye and hold the like really hold it back until I feel slightly safe. Almost the same way like I feel like I'm gonna pee my pants and I don't, like maybe a little comes out. But like for the most part, the floodgates, I can wait until there's a toilet. But it's
Uh,
the same thing where like someone hurts me and I feel it and I'm like, not now, Elizabeth.
yeah,
And
but
then as soon as I turn a corner on the sidewalk, I'm like, "Wah!"
I don't have any Kegel muscles when it comes to like my eyes and crying. Like it's just
Eye Kegels. Oh my God, we got to teach a class. Oh, eye Kegels. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It actually weirdly goes into my Google, but yeah.
Not there yet.
All right.
I do think there's some like numbness that is trained in men specifically, but anybody that kind of grew up in a household or country where showing emotion wasn't okay, you're just trained that that's not a safe space and that you can't be vulnerable. The same way that you might be trained not to be vulnerable in the sense of expressing yourself or sticking up for yourself or whatever. So I do think it's learned, and that makes me sad because some people I think especially in the toxic masculinity thing, which it seems like Mareeck understands that, but there are men going around being like, I just don't cry, and you're like, man, you're literally unattached to yourself and you're bragging about it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like being like, I don't find animals cute, and you're like, that's not something to brag about. They're cute.
I don't
They're
poop.
so
You're
cute.
like, you need to. You
Yeah.
need to get rid of that. Yeah.
What I find interesting, and I think that kind of shows you the benefit that I think a lot of men are going through, is that they can acknowledge that there's value to it. Because I think before, crying was just seen as weakness. Everybody was like, crying is weakness, crying is feminine, blah, blah, blah. And now I think people go, hey, there might be something wrong, or hey, I can't attach to that level, or hey, I have a strong belief that crying makes me less than, or crying makes me weak, and I maybe don't know how to fix it, but at least I can acknowledge that that's um a disturbing and detrimental belief, but we don't know how to fix it, Mareeck. So there's therapists and
You got to dig
um
deep on that one, and that's not us.
yeah, no, we are a very sometimes funny but very consistently here for you podcast.
Mm,
Um,
we're your friends.
would you like to get into your Google, my dear?
Are we there?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. My Google was, I basically wanted to know like if you can strengthen your eyes.
Oh, in what
I'm worried about
capacity?
my eyes. Like, when you start to age, you don't realize the things that you'll start worrying about until you get there, because people don't really make
Yeah.
a point to tell you. And then, like every once in a while I'll see like a thread like spot,
What do you
you can
mean?
see like you see like little dots or pin dots or something just sometimes randomly every once in a while.
Oh, you're saying in your actual eye, not on your physical eye. Like,
Right. It's not physical. Like you just
so,
sort of
oh,
see
okay.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which I think is weird because when I used to like develop film and photography class in high school, like before like digital was everybody had, um, the same sort of threads would appear on photos. So it's just like that's strange. But anyway, I wanted to find out if you could do eye exercises to like prevent your eyes from aging. And then the health.harvard.edu website says not really. Because you know how like I think on this podcast we talked about glasses and I was like, oh, I didn't get glasses when they told me to in seventh grade, and my eyes, I feel like my eyes got better, but like,
Probably true.
yeah. But they were saying they're debunking the myth that glasses make your eyes weaker. They just say what you tolerate, because people put off getting glasses for as long as possible, so they'll tolerate a lot more blur. You get glasses and then you tolerate less blur, and you mistake that for your eyes weakening.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So let me get to.
Because because I've heard people say that glasses are a crutch, but at the end of the day, if you broke your leg, you need a crutch. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like you can't tell somebody that like it's that kind of pick them up by the bootstraps, but it's like, hey, if I still can't see and there's nothing to fix how I can't see, then I'm gonna take the crutch. Like it just feels
Yes. Yeah. Um, right. And then let me just read. So it says, practiced faithfully, eye exercises may actually help delay the need for glasses or contacts in some people, but you don't need to buy a special program of exercises or follow prescribed visual gymnastics to accomplish these things, which I've not seen. Nobody's tried to sell me visual gymnastics yet, but that now that I've said it out loud, my phone will probably have that. Um,
it's gonna find it.
yeah. If your eyes are tired from excessive close-up work, such as staring at the computer, visual breaks to focus on objects at longer distances are a good idea. And it's important to encourage your visual system to do its best. Come on, you can do
Come on,
better than that,
buddy.
visual system. I just don't. I mean, it says eye muscles exercises will not eliminate the most common maladies that necessitate corrective lenses, namely nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, and presbyopia, age-related lens stiffening. Above all, eye exercises will do nothing for glaucoma or muscular. It seems like eye exercises don't actually do anything. So, because it like for one sentence said, you can focus on something far away, and that will help. But it's just like, well, if that helps, why does that help? And should I do more of that? And I've just noticed that I'm having a harder time like reading really small print across the room when I used to be fine. And I'm what was the other thing, that the thread thing that I see sometimes? And then there was one more thing. Oh, I've started like reading like by like shampoo bottles, like the tiny tiny print, and then you're in the
Oh,
shower and you're just like, so I've started like moving it away from my face. I'm like, this feels like an old, like I feel old.
yeah, yeah,
And it is an old thing, like when you start to lose your nearsightedness.
yeah,
So I was like, I don't want to lose my nearsightedness. So I was like, how do I eat some carrots? What do I do?
yeah, yeah. You eat carrot. You start eating carrots at 12, so you got to go in the past. I don't know why the whole time you were talking, I was like, is peekaboo like a good eye exercise? Like, you know what I mean? Like, like, but I do find it very funny the idea that,
Peekaboo, the game for babies who don't have any sense of like, if they can't see you, you're not there. Like that's
yeah,
why would
but
that be
maybe
good for eye
you give your
exercises?
eyes a break and
Oh, I
then
see.
you focus on something. Give your
All right,
eyes a break.
let's show off our nails real quick since we both.
What?
But yeah,
Um,
I don't know.
or The other thing I thought of is the idea that you're just kind of standing outside and someone's like, "Hey, are you lost?" And you're like, "No, I'm clearly doing eye exercises. Like I'm
Yeah.
focusing on that tree." Like
Are you a
I think we
spy?
could get real like kooky, Phoebe from Friends vibes where you're just like, "I'm doing my daily eye exercises." That's a tree, that's a dog.
You're just standing there doing this.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I always hate when our Googles are like, "No."
Yeah. What did I Google the other day that was I love when it's like, no one's asked this.
Yes, yes.
Like, you need to start writing those down because it's really you feel so lonely.
Failed
The
Googles.
typing just sort of like stops. Yeah.
We should have a whole episode of just failed Googles where you're just like, "Hey, how many people are experiencing this?" And they're like, "Just you." And you're like, "Cool, please
Cool,
don't.
dude.
How do I make sure this isn't ever, you know what I mean?" I was like, "Ooh, delete, delete, delete."
Yeah.
Um,
Clear history.
yes. Okay, my Google is how do you prevent a stiff neck? So, I had the word like could not move my neck like last week and I felt it coming on. And then I was fine for like a day, and then I just woke up and I could not move my neck. And I did, what I like I figured it out for the most part, but there was like one day that I was like, this is really bad. Almost the same way I feel like when I get a cold and I can't like breathe out of my nose. And I'm just like, when I can breathe out of my nose again, I'm gonna appreciate my nose. Like I'm gonna remember it. Every day is gonna be a new great day because I can breathe out of my nose. And I felt that because I was like just walking, I was uncomfortable, sitting, I was uncomfortable. Um, and at first I couldn't remember how it happened, and it's because I fell asleep on a plane. And I don't know if you do this, but I'm so tiny that I fall asleep on the tray table.
Mm. I can do that if
Like
I like put like a pile of things and then plop my head into that.
yeah, and it does help when you have a couple of things. Like sometimes I'll do like a jacket and like the kind of neck pillow, but I just had the neck pillow and I was like, eh. And I haven't been doing that every 3 days like I used to. Maybe I was more limber when I was traveling all the time. But I woke up and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good. And then, like I said, I had one day I was fine. And then the next day I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like this is so I'm sure it's a mixture of being older and then also like don't do that. Like you're not a fucking folding chair, Elizabeth. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um, but so it says, basically these are the ways to prevent a stiff neck, like what I should be doing all the time now that I'm an older lady. So use your postural muscles. So basically maintaining good posture, which I've never done ever, which would be like if I did the podcast like that. I also have a really long neck. So when I do good posture, I just look like crazy. Like I
It
just
is very
feel
swan-like.
right. I do. I have a freakishly long neck. And so I just feel like good posture, like I just feel douchey. Um,
Well, yeah,
uh
everyone looks douchey when they are like overemphasizing posture. I remember this one girl once on the subway. She was doing
I'm
this
gonna
really
tell that
over. Oh
story.
yeah. Oh right. You go ahead
Because
then.
you told her, you literally was like, "Hey, your posture is amazing." It was this Asian lady, and she was like, "Thank you so
She
much." Like,
broke though. She was like, she just looked so stoic, and I was like, "Hey, you have great posture." And she was like, "Thank you." Like it was just,
dude, it was like she was waiting for someone to notice.
yeah.
She was so honored. She was honored by that compliment. Um, Okay, slouching in your chair results in like this wear and tear in your spinal structure. So you should keep your computer at eye level, which I don't. I'm absolutely looking down at my computer. Your keyboard should be elbow height, which means that when you're typing, it's a 90-degree angle. That is true. But now I kind of understand those people that have their computer kind of like tilted up. And then
I think
this,
I need to do that because I've been doing a lot of like transcribing of things, and oh fuck, I have so much homework. But like I'm really fucking up my like I'm starting to have to like my thumb, the base of my thumb. I think Josh Gondelman was talking about that when we had him do a Google.
yeah.
It's really starting to hurt a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. You see those things and you're like, I would never do that. And then you're like, oh, I need that. And that's why I'm in pain all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're supposed to take breaks like every hour to kind of rest your neck because we're just kind of like staring at a screen and stuff. Oh, staring down at a book or a phone for long periods of time basically push your head forward and cause your spine to bear too much weight. Can I just say that I really appreciate that they said phone and book? That was really nice of them. Like
Yeah.
that's
We don't just
way
assume
to
everybody's a moron.
yeah, that was really kind. So they're basically saying that if you do, you're supposed to hold it at eye level, which sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll lay in bed and I'll do this, but if I'm honest, my neck is always like ugh. Yeah, I do some bad stuff with my neck. Um, this was actually interesting. Driving, sitting in a low seat that's pushed too far back can make you drive with your head forward and your chin up. And I was like, well, that's not a me and Maria problem because I don't know about you, but like when
Oh
I
no.
drive, my feet don't reach the pedals. Like basically if an airbag goes off, I will die because
Yeah.
I am just like so up in my steering wheel. And then sleeping.
Weird malfunction for a thing that's supposed to save your life. Like you would think they would try to figure that out. Like there are many
Nothing is
short people in the world.
no, but nothing's made for women. Your seatbelt's
Nothing's
not
made for
made
short
for
people. Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, but that's majority women. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
nothing is made for women. Nothing's like it's everything that's supposed to save us is for a man's body. And that's why a lot of women and children and maybe, smaller men are getting hurt because it's designed to keep an average man's body safe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
garbage.
That's like when my doctor called and was like, your like white blood cell count is low, but it's also based on middle-aged men from prison when we did the study. Like white middle-aged men from prison. So I'm just going to test you again just to see if it's consistent. And I was fine. It's just I'm just a young Middle Eastern, not young, but I'm a Middle Eastern short woman, and
Yeah. No, I think all that stuff is true. They say the same thing about BMI, like what is considered obese. Like it's just like there's like some people that have like said they got the vaccine. They're like, hey, I can get it because I'm considered obese, and I'm like, what? Like I'm looking at them and I'm like, what? But it doesn't take in account the fact that women hold more weight. That doesn't in fact take into account different ethnicities. It's just all garbage. It's all garbage. But the other way you can get out of alignment is by sleeping.
sorry.
Weird.
You just remind me of like an old Jewish man sometimes. It's all garbage. Don't even talk to me about the garbage. It's all garbage.
Can I tell you the funniest story? This is what I don't think I could turn it into a joke because it's just so you had to be there ridiculous. But I'm in a Barnes and Nobles with Danny when we were in Florida, and there's a like we looked at some books. I couldn't find the book that I wanted, so we always go to like the gift section because we love crap. So we're walking around like where like Barnes and Nobles has gifts, and it's a wall of mugs. And I turned to Danny and I go, "Are you particular like this? I hate thick rimmed mugs.
No,
Like
I'm particular like that. Yeah.
but it bothers me. I hate like really fat handles and I hate thick. Like my
Hmm.
dad bought me this mug once and I still have it that's so thick that I'm like, who would want to put their mouth? Like I use it for ice cream. Like I would never in a million years drink out of this mug. It's just offensive. So anyway, I'm looking at all these decorative mugs and I was like, ugh, nightmare, nightmare, nightmare. And he's like, you're insane. And I was like, why? She was like, if anybody's looking from the outside, it's just a tiny woman pointing to a bunch of cups, calling them nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
And I
maybe it's a
meant it.
tiny woman thing, but I get it. I get it. Like Johnny's flatmate has this penguin mug. And I feel so bad because I hate that mug. And she calls it Petey the Penguin, like, so she loves it obviously, but I'm like, it's
Yeah.
it's a garbage mug. I'll tell you why. It's thick and it goes in at the top, right? It goes in. So when you go to
Ooh.
drink it, the liquid, it doesn't pour into your mouth. It just sort of drips down the side and you get this you're drinking messy coffee. Petey the Penguin, not a mug. Good paintbrush
Unpleasurable.
holder.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'll use it for other stuff, but it's unpleasurable. My roommate John has a mug that I'm obsessed with. It has a big J on it. It's his mug. Perfect. It's a perfect
Yeah.
mug. And he went to go pour water in it, and I was like, "Hey, can I have that mug?" And he's like, and it was if it was tea, I think I would have let him had it, but it was just going
Yeah.
to be a cup of water. And
Yeah.
I was like, "That's my favorite mug," and I'm about to
Yeah.
make tea, and he's like, "Okay, it's his mug."
Yeah.
It brings me
Yeah.
joy.
And my flatmate, like, I'm sorry, this is a whole podcast about mugs. My flatmate, like, I use this one peacock mug like all the time. I love it. It's like short and fat, but it's like thin enough. And like I love the mug, but it was her mug, and it was bothering her that I was using it so much. So for Christmas, she bought me another mug. But this mug is like thick. It's like Amanda, if you're listening, love the mug, but it's thick, and because there's a gold rim on it, it can't be dishwashed. So it's like, but like it's a cute mug. It's just it doesn't have all the dimensions.
Yeah.
I need the dimensions.
Yeah. No, I just that's why we're on the same page.
My agent called. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm on a rant. I'm on a rant about mugs.
um, sleeping can also affect your neck. And what was really interesting, I did all this research last night, and I'm feeling better. But one of the things it said is that, if you're asleep you're not supposed to sleep on your stomach. I do that all the time. But if you're sleeping on your side, the pillow needs to be at your neck. It shouldn't be at your shoulders, because that can like mess up with your alignment. And then of course I'm going to bed. I was like, oh, I do everything wrong. Like I was paying attention to how I sleep, and I'm like full, like almost my whole body is on this pillow. Like I'm like trying to be prompt up. I don't know. So anyway, it says after 30, you need to be stretching every day. And I refuse to acknowledge that I'm older than 30, apparently. And they're just saying like stand up and do some stretches or whatever. And then clearly if you're in pain, do them a couple of times, which it's always like when I start to feel pain, like when I start to run and my hips are tight and my back hurts, or if I'm sitting too much or what. But I don't stretch every day in a preventative measure. I stretch as soon as I'm in pain. And then as soon as I'm not in pain, I'm like, well, that'll never happen again. Like I
Yeah.
just, so yeah. Yeah, basically stretching, guys. You know the thing you already knew, but I Googled it. Stretching. Let's get personal.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the first thing you think of when you wake up in the morning?
Ooh. Where's my phone? I want to check my phone because I want to see if I had any emails while I was asleep that say that I'm being booked for something amazing and going to get $1 million for it. Um, Still waiting on that email. And yeah, yeah, it's just what did I miss? What did I miss?
Which is funny because whenever my phone like we get tons of spam calls, but when it's LA, I'm always like, oh, Hollywood. Should I answer it? It's
Yeah.
Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
it's that same like
Uh,
whenever anything is like California, I'm like Hollywood's calling. I've had like
yeah.
Budapest call, and I'm like, did they move Hollywood? Like,
Yeah. Honestly, if spam people knew anything, they would just base all of their phones at a 310 number. But
right?
like, yeah. And I was gonna say in defense of myself, uh I still have a lot of friends in New York and LA, so there's a lot I could be missing while I'm asleep
Yeah.
because I'm
I'm always in a state of panic. Like I wake up because I two things are happening. I'm either waking up on my own and I assume I forgot to set an alarm,
mhm.
or I'm waking up to an alarm and I don't know what it's for.
Okay.
So my alarm went off today. Beginning of the pandemic, I would like set it like 10 minutes before we met, and I would roll out of bed and I would do this. And now I give myself an hour. I do like a skincare regimen situation. Sometimes I make some tea. I do maybe some extra research. Um, I could not sleep last night. So I watched a whole movie. I was like, I'll just watch like 10 minutes of the movie and I'll get tired. And then I watched a whole 2-hour movie and I was like still awake. Then I fell asleep and I had a nightmare and I woke up with my heart pounding and I was like, cool, cool body, cool. And then I woke up to my alarm going off and I panicked that like, cause you know me, I set multiple alarms. I panicked that it was the wrong alarm.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. I panicked that it was the 5 minutes before we meet alarm that I set and not the hour before alarm. But I would say the first thing every morning is what am I missing? Like what did I forget? So I'm usually
Yeah.
grabbing my phone, but I don't label my alarms very often or I recycle them. So sometimes it's just like call Maria and it's just like that was for 3 weeks ago and
Yeah.
it doesn't apply. But I'm spending the first couple of minutes trying to figure out what I should be doing and how long I'm allowed to be in bed on my phone.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. It's just like, all right, what's going on today? I can be in bed for another hour before I start panicking that I need to be doing other stuff.
And what's interesting is that didn't go away during the pandemic. Like I still like there were definitely days and weeks where like I had no reason to get up in the morning, but I still was like, was I supposed to do something? Maybe I should be doing something. Did I tell somebody I was going to do something? Like
Yeah.
I wake up fearful,
Yeah.
and you wake
Well,
up
that
with hope.
sucks. I wake up in a great mood. Oh, it's the whole new day. Anything can happen today. This is gonna be a great day.
I wouldn't say it's sad. It's just panicky.
No, I know, but that's not happy, is it?
No, no, it's not. And I do
But
think that leads us into
but
our
by
topic.
but yeah, but by nighttime, just for me, it just slowly just like depletes. And so by the time night comes around, I hate everything.
Oh, and I get more joy, especially if I'm doing shows. So that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
John, it's
We
funny. John, I think Johnny's the same way because he wakes up going, I don't trust you yet. The day.
you personally or the day
No,
itself?
about the day. And I wake up like, yay! And he's just no.
Put your joy away.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, I didn't even realize how well this went into our topic, but our topic this week is generalized anxiety disorder. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. Were you?
No, who would have like what
Your therapist probably would have been like, "Hey, buddy, some of these things seem like anxiety."
I I don't remember. And you can't prove anything. No,
I,
I don't know. If I were to guess, I'd probably have it. But I just have
oh,
it a
you
particular.
oh,
Oh,
you do. Oh,
oh.
sweetheart. Oh, this wasn't
I
a
might
question
be.
of do you. It was if someone in your life has diagnosed you, but
Yes,
if
Liz
it's not
Mealy.
a if it's not a doctor, then it is me. Then I've now diagnosed you with misophonia, and I have now diagnosed you with generalized anxiety disorder, and I will be taking some funds for all this work I'm doing on behalf of your health.
What? You can't. I'm sick.
You
I'm
can't say that to a
mentally
doctor.
unwell. You can't take money from me. That's insane. You're the worst friend.
I'm a lovely friend.
You are the best
Um,
friend.
I was diagnosed probably within a year of seeing my therapist. So I started seeing my therapist at 25. Um, and she was like, "You have this," and I was like, "No." Like I didn't fight it, but I was like, "No." And then as she would like sprinkle in the word anxiety throughout stuff, well, she's like, "Because of your anxiety, da, da, da." That's when I started to like look it up. And as soon as I Googled it, like as soon as I looked it up in my 20s, I was like, "Oh," like legit was like, this makes so much sense. It's almost how I feel about like even just our Googles, where like all of a sudden you're like, I knew I was dealing with something. Like I knew this wasn't normal. And I always knew I wasn't, I don't want to say normal because that's not nice to myself or to other people, but like I always knew my brain wasn't working how it was supposed to. I just didn't know it was like a disorder. Like I didn't know it was like disordered thinking, if you think of it that way. But if
Hmm.
so, okay, so if you don't know anything about generalized anxiety disorder, it's a persistent or excessive worry about a number of different problems. They call it GAD. People may anticipate disaster. They may be overly concerned about money, health, family, work, other issues. But basically, they find it difficult to control their worry. And I know you might think, well, like I worry about stuff, or how is that any different than somebody that is worried about money because they should be worried about money? It's just an all consuming worry, and it's not always kind of based in reality. And there's actually especially when it goes untreated, there's no way to stop it. Like it's just, and like I told a story on a previous episode about how, oh, and then also sometimes you just don't know what you're worried about, which also happens a lot. Like I think last night I stayed up super late because I was anxious, but I don't know what I was anxious about. Like, you know what I mean? Like what
Yeah.
I kept doing is looking at my calendar and looking at my to-do list, and I was like, there's nothing really due tomorrow, and there's nothing that I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I was like, so I was like, I didn't really understand, but I just knew I was restless, and I couldn't kind of, and I think that's why I was up until like 3.
Yeah, it's
But
just one of those things that generalized anxiety disorder feels like one of those things that you always deal with to the point that you don't even realize like how it could be any better, you know? So somebody points it out and you're like, I guess I have that. And then you start noticing a lot and then you're like, well, how am I supposed to feel? And then it's supposed to be like this like really peaceful place that only almost no one's in.
yeah.
And I've been striving to get to that with comedy because like the anxiety I feel towards comedy isn't warranted or justified anymore. And maybe I understood it when I first started, but I can't get rid of it because my nerves aren't, oh my God, what if I fuck up the performance? Because I won't, and I'll be fine. So it's never nerves about the performance. It's just something that's just already there. I mean, I know that's not generalized because I'm knowing specifically what it is, but what it'll do is it'll fuck up all of my evenings at about 6 p.m., whether I'm performing or not.
Yeah. What's funny about you saying like you didn't like I truly didn't have a label for it. I didn't realize it. For the longest time I didn't even think, I just thought this is how everybody thought. When it really came, when I really, really understood it was the first time I took Xanax. Like
Yeah, because
it
then you
was
go, oh,
crazy.
this is how you're supposed to feel.
It was insane. It was insane. I was sitting on a plane. I looked out the window and I wasn't even having like a panic attack or anything because that's how I use it now is like I have to like I don't use it consistently. It's like something is like it's like really bad. I probably used it like 4 times. But this
Yeah.
was like I was like, I just want to try it. Like maybe nothing will happen. Maybe I'll just sleep on the plane. And I was looking out the window after I took it. It was like maybe like 20, 30 minutes later. And I was like, oh, the cloud's really pretty. Oh, the sky's really nice. It's nice up here. And then I was like, oh my God, is this people's brains? I was like, this is insane. It was just all of a sudden, all my thoughts were like not there. And then when they were there, they were just peaceful and
Yeah.
and I
That's
was like, it was
that's the
insane.
that's the thing about drugs is I always feel like it's the cheat to let you know. It's like looking in the back of the book of your math book to see like what the answer to the problems are. And you
Yeah.
go, "Oh, okay, I don't know how you got there, but I see where it's supposed to be." You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So like drugs are just like this glimpse into what it's like to be without anxiety and like just insecurity and obsession and all that stuff and just be at peace, which is what I think the whole point of meditation is. And you get that
Absolutely.
heat and you go, "Oh, I want that," but naturally, and so you come back and then you try to meditate into you, and it doesn't. It's a slow process.
Yeah, a very slow process. And it's funny because like Klonopin, Xanax, I think it's Ativan, like a bunch of those are like highly addictive and they're not supposed to be like consistently used. And I now understand why it's like an older white lady's favorite drug. Like, you know what I mean? Like you think like, why wouldn't you get into a party drug? And you get older and you're like, I don't want to go to Mars. I just want to live on Earth without being beaten up by my own thoughts. Like it
Mhm.
is it I don't know, like I honestly understand the addiction and I'm very scared because
Yeah.
I remember the first time because I've had it when I was having a panic attack and I took it, it solved an extreme problem. But I think the scariest part is when I took it when I was just like normal me and it felt so nice that I was like, whoa. I was
Yeah.
like, oh no. I saw the other side and it's lovely. It's fucking lovely. Okay, so I'll tell you guys some symptoms. If you don't know, difficulty concentrating, difficulty sleeping, irritability, fatigue and exhaustion, muscle tension, repeated stomach aches and diarrhea, sweaty palms, shaking, rapid heartbeat, neurological symptoms such as numbness or tingling in different parts of the body, which I've had, which was kind of weird. I would have never connected that, and I'm not actually sure why it's connected,
I've had like
but
3 Googles of just about the tingling in the different parts of my body.
I know, right? So I I mean, I think I hit every single symptom, but what I find interesting is like I've had so many physical problems from like IBS to small intestinal bacterial overgrowth to candida or whatever. And I remember after like years of dealing with it that my therapist was like, this might just be anxiety. And I was like, what? Because like I was running up like against the wall, especially in the beginning of it, of resolving it. And the origins might be just anxiety. And when they come back, it might just be anxiety. What sucks is like there's so many different things that give you these symptoms that you're never like, did I eat a bad sandwich? You know what I mean? Or am I nervous about my day? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, it was a lot of relief when I found out and I really did the research to know that this is again, I don't want to say not normal, but this isn't how it's supposed to be. And that this chronic feeling uncomfortable and this chronic like worry and like and I actually think I was also diagnosed with OCD, which I see. And then what I found really interesting is we did that ADHD episode and we got a lot of things wrong. Everybody corrected us. Thank you so much.
That
Um
yeah. Thank you so
but
much.
a lot of people were like, I talked about having focus and everybody came back. We got a bunch of emails that were like, that's hyper focus and that's a big sign of ADHD. And then today it basically said that hyperfixation is also a symptom and tool to cope with anxiety and depression. And that's 100% how I use hyperfocus. Like I will be so like my workaholism is a form of coping. I've always known that. It's a way to focus on something, get stuff done, check stuff off a list so that if I am panicking about my career or money or status or whatever it is, I'm doing something about it. But there was somebody that crap, there was something written down that like, you know when you read it and just like encapsulates. Oh,
Mm.
so I looked up like what does anxiety look like? What's a typical like anxious moment? And this person wrote like long periods of hard work, then being burnt out, then procrastinating, then you overthink that I'm not doing enough, and then you feel and then or you feel failure, and then you have poor sleep or you don't sleep enough, and then you wake up and you can't get back to sleep and you have racing thoughts and you're like, yeah,
Right.
yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like something sparks your anxiety or it's just always there?
I think it's always there. I think things can make it worse. I feel so imposed upon when I have anything hanging over my head. So a social engagement, any obligation, a doctor's appointment, especially stand up, that it ruins every aspect of my life. So, and again, I've lived with it for so long that didn't really know it was a thing. And then like lockdown happened, and like a lot of those obligations stopped, and I was really happy. And I was really like, I was starting to focus and write more and stuff. And now obligations are coming back in, especially with this taping. Like this taping has affected like anything. If I have a dentist appointment, I'm going, oh, fuck, and like, why? It's a dentist appointment. Or if I have a podcast recording with you in my room, like the least amount of effort at all, but it's an obligation and it's causing me a lot of stress. Why is it causing me a lot of stress? Because in about 5 days, I'm going to have justified stress, and I didn't realize it, but it was just kind of leaning on my entire calendar and squashing everything and making everything feel really really bad. I don't know how else to describe it. Like
It
it.
an obligation just feels like the walls are closing in and you're like, did I do everything? Am I prepared? Is it going to be okay? Wait, do I have to go now? What if I'm late? Oh my God, if I'm
And so
late,
you
do I
have
not
all
get
those
paid?
thoughts, and then it goes, you got to go clean your teeth, and you're like, I can't fucking clean my teeth right now,
I have a
right?
thing in 5 days. Are you
Yeah,
crazy?
yeah. So
No. Yeah.
when I started meditating, and like I was starting to notice like if I had a show, like that nervousness that started to come up before the like even on my way to the show, or it's just like the anxiety about getting to the show, getting there on time. Like will I know, like will I walk there? Will it be dark? Will Google Maps send me down alleys? And it just sort of like hijacks all of that, and it brings you back, and like it just the concerns are still there, but it doesn't overtake you because there's nothing I could do about it. I mean, I can definitely think of better ways to walk to a place, but a lot of your worry, like I need to practice this for my fear of flying now, because it's like I can't control anything in that situation. So I have to control like my own reaction to it.
That's 100% how I feel. Like I remember, I've been in therapy forever and I worried about everything. So like I have two like very strong subway memories. I remember going from gig to gig. This is probably like over 10 years ago, and I was stuck on the train and I was going to be late. I was going to not be there in time for my spot. Keep in mind, it's like it's a spot, but you know how we are. Just to have a spot is exciting. It's money. Are these people never going to book me again? Am I going to be blamed? Whatever. So I'm on the subway and I'm freaking out. Like I'm just like I feel like a caged animal where I'm just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, they know I have a spot." Like, just like
Yeah. Oh
fucking
yeah.
and I had to literally I stood up. I could not sit. Like I couldn't sit on the train and just wait. I had to stand up as a way of like feeling in control. And out loud, I was muttering to myself. I was like, "If you miss the spot, you miss the spot. It's just the spot.
Yes.
Not your fault. There's nothing you could have done differently. You did not know this was going to happen. It's not your fault. You will run as soon as you get off the train. You will call as soon as you have service. You have never not showed up to a spot." What, you know what I mean? But like I had to like literally like talk to myself. Like I had to like parent myself. And I mean, it was literally just because I was like, I was so close to just like, those people that punch doors and you're like, what are you punching doors? Like, that's not
Oh
gonna make the
yeah.
door. But I was at that level of
That's
crazy where I
like
was
that was like how I yelled like fuck because the bus was stopped because two people were trying to maneuver like this parallel parking situation. I was just like on the bus going fuck, like because I had to get to a spot. That doesn't help. That
yeah,
doesn't
no.
help. It just scares people on the bus.
So then fast forward, I've been in therapy, God knows how long. This is like maybe a couple of years ago. And I'm leaving a spot in Queens and I live in Brooklyn. So it's like far. All right. It was already going to take me over an hour. So and it's like 3 trains to get home. And the first train gets me to West 4th. Everything's kind of fine. Although there was like a crazy person harassing women. Luckily, I was with like 2 male comics, and they were just like, "What do we do?" And I was like, "You leave with me to another train." But for the most part, smooth. The train worked. I like how like the light harassment. I was like, "That's just average." The train going on time was a great time. So I get to West 4th, and I have to transfer, and the clock says 20 minutes to the next train. You're like, Jesus Christ. 20 minutes goes by, train doesn't show up. And you're like, okay, maybe it's late. Then on the clock again, it says 20 minutes. And you're like, what? So then I wait another 20 minutes. So now it's been 40 minutes and no train has come. They're not making announcements. And then it goes again 20 minutes. And I was like, all right, fool me twice, but fuck this. So then I just jump on the next train, which is not the train I need. And I was like, I'll figure out when I get on the train. So I jump on another train. I'm on it trying to figure out, because it's now been 2 hours for something that's supposed to take an hour to get home. So I'm on this train trying to figure it out. I was like, oh, if I take this train to this and then transfer to this. So while I'm on the train, I transfer. And as soon as I get off the train, they're like, hey, that train doesn't run anymore. And I was like, no, no, it's like 2 a.m. at this point. I was like, no. So then they're like, there's a bus. And I was like, oh, there's a bus. Buses are great. So I jump on the bus. And then the bus drops me off at not the right side. It's like 2 miles from it. Like it's technically what they
My
say
God.
the street is. So then I
Yeah.
walked 2 miles in like at 2:30 in the morning. So it took me over 3 hours to get home. And at no point am I angry. I'm just kind of like annoyed, but I'm not like, whoa, whoa. And I remember when it hit the 3 hour mark, I was starting to kind of tense up a little bit. And I was like, you have nowhere to be tomorrow. You have nowhere to be. You don't have a
Oh yeah.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
Nobody's waiting up for you. And I didn't say it in like a sad way. I said it in a way like it's not like I'm missing an opportunity to see
Right.
somebody I love. I was like, there's no one to meet up with. There's nowhere to go tomorrow. There's nothing you need to do. Being home is just to be home and comfortable, but there's no like this is fucking my whole week up kind of thing. And as soon as I put it in that perspective, I was like, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm fine. So I was like walking home in the middle of the night and I was like actually not in a bad mood. I was just kind of accepting it. And then I called everybody I knew and I was like, I'm better now. I have figured it out. Like I really spent like I told my therapist, I told my sister, I was like, I was inconvenienced for 3 hours and I handled it like an adult.
Yeah, I would have been crying, and I would have taken an Uber long before any of that happened. But also, I had the same conversation with myself before I'd even moved to New York. I was visiting New York, and I just got caught up in the energy of the city, I guess. But like, I just was like, get out of my way! Ah, God, these people, get out of my like. I didn't. I had the same. I was like to myself, like, where are you going? It's like, oh no, just need to get there. Yeah. So
Uh, it's amazing. Okay, I'll tell you some ways to handle it, and then we'll get out of here. Oh, just so you know, so there's like a bunch of main anxieties. The main ones: generalized anxiety, OCD, panic disorder, PTSD, and social phobias. We've covered a lot of these, and you can have a fun combination. So I also have panic disorder because I've had many panic attacks. You have also had panic attacks, correct?
yeah.
But yeah, and then I also have OCD. So you can have like a fun, like a mix and match of disorders. Oh, I thought it was also interesting that they were like, drinking calms anxiety almost immediately. Like they literally was
I
like, and I know you know that.
yeah, I mean, yes, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I read it and I was like, yeah, no doctor needs to tell you that. Everybody know. Like, I feel like, especially with the pandemic, everybody found it out. Like, everybody got some form of anxiety with what was going on.
I'm dying to get back to how I feel after 2 drinks, like, but just like with meditation. 'Cause,
Yeah.
obviously, like, that's like that Homer Simpson quote, like, "Oh, alcohol, the cause and solution to all life's problems," but it's like, it does fuck you up too, so that's a problem, but yeah, I mean, after 2 drinks, it's just like, "Oh, life's fine. It's fun."
We'll figure it
Get
out.
on
We'll
stage, we'll
figure
talk
it
to
out.
some people, huh? Then we'll
Nothing
all
matters.
go for dinner. God, what a great life.
Okay, so treatment, cognitive behavioral therapy. Obviously, we've talked about therapy a ton, but the goal is to change your thinking and behavior. And that's kind of like the example we both gave with New York City. It's just y- the anxiety seems to always be there, but how you take care of it, how you bring it in, how you talk to yourself. Like, I have so many more tools now that I can self soothe, like I talked about. I can talk myself out of being crazy. Clearly, when I'm more stressed or tired or whatever, those it feels harder. But on an average day, I'm kind of like, the subway's been horrible this last week, and I've been doing more shows, and it's taken me longer. I got stuck underground for a half hour on the way home. It took me 2 hours one night to get home, but I have more than ever nowhere else to be, and I've just been like, I'm reading a book I like. I'm just going to accept it. Medication, sorry, Xanax, Klonopin, Ativan. Those are meant to be taken sparingly. They're not meant to be taken long term because of abuse. And then if you need something more long term, a lot of antidepressants are really helpful with anxiety. And then they always talk about lifestyle changes. So regular exercise, healthy diet, plenty of sleep, yoga and meditation, avoiding stimulants like coffee. They said over the counter medication. I was like, oh, what over the counter medication? And then they were like diet pills and caffeine pills, and I was like, when was this written? I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
Stop trying to look like Kate Moss, everybody.
yeah, I was just like, yeah, truly. I was like, 1997 called, and they want their ideas back. And then talking to a trusted friend, spouse, family member, blah blah blah. But I think the thing that's helped me the most is acknowledging that this might not go away. I might never feel how I feel on Xanax, but when I do start to feel anxious, I do have a lot more tools and examples to show this isn't the end of the world. This is in my head. You know what I mean? Like, if I need money, I'll find money. If I need if I'm anxious about something that's going on, I can talk to somebody about it. And more, I'll call you up and be like, hey, I feel crazy. Can I just like vent at you? And you'll listen, and sometimes you'll be like, that makes sense, but let me give you this perspective. Or
Yeah. And I'll be
and
like, "Hey, I in my mind, this person's doing like being awful to me and they mean this." And you're like, "That's not what they mean." And I'm like, "Okay." I don't know, maybe
uh
that's different.
no, but I think that's what it is. It's just overthinking and building stuff up that's not real.
Yeah.
But we would love to hear from you guys. If anybody, if we've just diagnosed you with anxiety, I mean, I'd love to take credit for that. I think we'd
Liz
love
loves
to.
diagnosing people.
I love diagnosing people as a non-doctor. Um, but yeah, experiences with anxiety. If this kind of clarified things for you, experiences that you've kind of overcome, but you can write to us at two non-doctors. That's two non four doctors at gmail.com. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.